Hey everyone, welcome back to Isyour6 Covered. Appreciate you showing up. Today we're going to talk about, we're going to get new shooters to go out and shoot matches. So if you're watching this video, you may be on the fence thinking about shooting your first NRL 22 match or PRS style match, and what kind of gear, what you need to know ahead of time, and all that stuff. We're going to get into it today, and hopefully this video helps you to get you on the other side, sign up for a match, have some fun. So first thing you'll need is some type of rifle. So depending on what you may have already, maybe you already have a 22 long rifle bolt action, or a 1022 by Ruger, or so on and so forth. There's a bunch out there, but you need some type of rifle. So when it comes to a rifle, you need a rifle with some type of magnified optic on it. You're going to need some way to attach a bipod. And this is just one of many that I have available. But a lot of stages are going to be where you're shooting in the prone position. So you're going to need some type of bipod for sure. One of the things you will need is a reticle that has hopefully some more information in it than just your old school standard hunting crosshairs. Something to be able to figure out if you miss and you're spotting your shots, you can utilize that information in the reticle. I prefer the mill style reticles, but if you have an MOA out there, perfectly fine as well. That'll work just fine. But you're going to want something that has adjustable turrets on it, so that when you figure out how far away the distance is and going through some of the information that we're going to go through, you'll be able to dial in that target and hopefully get an impact. So first thing we'll need is you're going to need a rifle that has a good zero on it. So I would say I would prefer, and most of us out there are putting a zero in at 50 yards. So we're zeroing our rifle at 50 yards. Most of us are shooting some type of standard velocity. So here is some CCI, and you're looking for like 1070 feet per second. A lot of this stuff that you buy in bulk, like this Blazer, this Remington here as well, this is around the 1280-ish, depending on what ammo you're looking at. This one here is 1235. You want to keep that speed down below. You want to stay right around 1070. You'll actually end up with more of an accurate, consistent rifle. So that's some things to think about. More concerns is some type of chamber flag. So depending on what you have available, these come very cheap. You can get bags of these for a very good price. It basically just goes in the action so that it shows the other competitive shooters that your rifle is safe. They come in different configurations like this. So depending on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go with this great sport, they have a lot of different stuff that starts getting pricey. I call it the rabbit hole because like most of us shooting some type of whether it's pistol, rifle, whatever the case is, we started off with some of the more basic type of gear, which works out perfect. And as we progress and love the sport of shooting more, we end up spending more money on different items in order to help us as we compete. So with your rifle, you're going to need at least 2 magazines. You're going to want at least 2 10-round magazines. A lot of stages are 8 rounds up to 12 rounds. So at some point, and depending on the match, you may have to do a reload. But you're definitely going to want at least 2 magazines in order to compete in the match, which will be nice. Shooting bags. Shooting bags, there's so many shapes and different aspects of how heavy they are and what they're filled with and all that. I would say to not worry about getting a bag. I would find almost a sock and put some rice into it, because more than likely the people that you're shooting with, they're going to let you try out the bags that they have available. The shooting community has been outstanding forever, ever since I've started competing years ago in different disciplines, whether it was pistol stuff, 3-gun, whatever the case. The community in a whole is very generous and wants to help. So you can kind of get an idea. Ask someone, do you mind if I borrow, that bag to try out? So so there's different bags of all sorts. So there isn't one that you need to buy. You'll have to figure that out on your own as you progress into the sport of shooting. Now you will need a good zero like I talked about, but you'll also need some information that comes along with that. So you need to have some type of data. We call it DOPE, which is data on previous engagements. And that's basically just something that's written down so that we know, okay, we have a target at 85 yards. I need to dial X amount or whatever the case is. This is one way to keep that information with you as you're running through the stage. This is an armband. You can go to like a sporting goods store and find one of the football, like the quarterback kind of armband where you can put a card in it and leave some information in there as well. This one's designed a little bit more around the shooting industry. So I have quite a few things in here, spare batteries if something goes down. But you can write the information down and utilize that. Different aspects. There's ways where we mount cards to our rifle. Basically, we put that stage in there, we put all the information in. But we can do as simple as this, and I've done this a lot of times in the past. We will write down that stage. We'll put the information on our arm or our shirt, and as we're progressing through the stages, we can look and see what we need to dial in our reticle. Kind of back to the reticle. Depending on what scope you have, maybe you haven't gone out and purchased a scope yet. This is the Vortex Diamondback. This is a fairly inexpensive scope. It's a good production style if you're going to shoot in the production style classification, which most shooters start out in. But it does have the turrets for dialing. You're going to want some type of reticle. This is the EBR2C in here, which has a lot of information in there that you can utilize when you spot your shots or misses, where you're like, okay, I'm 2 tenths up. I do utilize mils over MOA. I think most people out in the precision long range stuff uses mils. So when we're communicating, it's not like you're talking miles per hour. And then the other guy's talking in a different language, basically. So something to consider. You do want some type of magnification. This one is, what is this one? 16 to 24. No, it isn't. It is, let me crank it all the way over. This one is 6 to 24. So you got a lot of variable in there. Most of the times you don't want to you basically power up your magnification all the way to the target. It makes it harder to find the target when you're trying to, this is a speed game. You're trying to engage a certain amount of targets in a certain amount of time. So being able to find those targets quickly is going to be very important. But you will want some type of turrets so that you can dial some of your targets in. And having that information, there's different apps on your phone so you can punch in all the numbers. You can type in a target at 87 yards and it'll give you that information. So depending on that. So we got a ammo selection. We talked a little bit about scope concerns, turrets, reticles, variable powers. If you have a scope that has basically just the hunting lines in it, you're gonna have probably more issues than you need to have. Depending on the simplicity of the scope, it can be detrimental to your shooting abilities. Having too much in there, because they do make different stuff like Trimmer 3 reticles that has just an overwhelming amount for a new shooter to try to figure out, where the target is and where be able to spot your hits and all that kind of stuff. So you can have too little and you can have too much in your reticle, especially starting out. So distances, you want to sign up for this match. First thing you got to do is you got to find the match, right? Well, if you go to practicescore.com, you can basically find all matches of different shooting sports within your area that you probably will have to drive a ways to find. And you can sign up there. They'll give you dates of the upcoming ones as well. So definitely a good way to find those matches. Now, if you sign up for the 22 like NRL PRS style shooting matches. They're going to mostly be about 100 and in distance wise. They do make longer ones out to 500, and as far as I've seen, maybe there's ones that are farther, but that's considered an X match. So you'll see NRL 22X on there, which will be for farther distances. That may, depending on how you feel about your shooting abilities, you may want to sign up for just a regular NRL match before you get to the X ones. They're a little more difficult. How a stage works. So basically you'll show up early. You want to confirm your zero. You want to make sure you got a really good zero with a good lot of ammo. So depending on most matches, they're about 100, I don't know, anywhere from 87 rounds up to like 150, depending on what whoever designed the stages were. So make sure you got some ammo. Make sure you're training with the same ammo just to confirm everything. You can always practice with something else, maybe some cheaper ammo, but just getting into the game, make sure you're not bringing different, you're not bringing some of this ammo and this ammo. Your rifle is going to get used to a certain round, and swapping ammo in between matches because you don't have enough of something is not going to help you out at all. Your zero will be different, and all sorts of stuff can happen. So you signed up, you showed up there, you showed up early. Usually if the match starts at like 9, you can zero your rifle from 8:30 to 9 or whatever, basically giving you an idea that there is usually a window where you can confirm your zero, making sure your rifle is good to go for the match. Maybe you bumped it on the way, maybe it was bouncing around the back of your truck or something and you lost zero. So it gives you an ability to check zero and make sure you're good to go right before the match starts. Then that is done. Basically the range, the ROs or whoever's running the match director will get everybody together and they'll kind of go over the safety rules. They'll tell you where each stage is. They'll say, stage 1 starts down there and works its way up, and this is stage 6, whatever the case is. They'll put you into the squads that you might have placed yourself in at practice score online when you signed up for the match as well. But somehow they'll get you into your groups. And then from there, you're basically going to have a range officer that either will follow you or will be at each stage calling your hits and basically running down what needs to take place at this stage. So they'll say, okay, you have 120 seconds to engage 8 targets. You need to utilize, this barrel and so on and so forth, whatever they have. So you definitely, again, back to the bipod, you'll want some type of bipod because 99.9% of the time there will be at least one area where you'll need to shoot prone. And the targets that you'll be looking at can be anything from a 1/4 inch target, which would be on a know your limits target, or there'll be a set of them which goes from bigger down to super small. And then you'll also see lots of different targets, steel targets out there in different shapes of animals or shapes of, just basically circles, diamonds, and that kind of stuff. Now, after the range officer gives you the information, after he said, on this stage you have 120 seconds, there's 8 targets to engage, so on and so forth, wait for him to completely read through that whole thing. And then after that would be a great time to ask questions. Even before this, if you're not feeling very confident, make sure you tell the people in your squad, hey, this is the first time I've done this style match, or my first match ever. And if you wouldn't mind just making sure I do everything correctly and do everything in a safe manner. So safety wise, we have types of flagging like we talked about, our chamber flags. And then we have also rules. So the rules are basically your rifle is going to be completely unloaded at all times until you get up to when it's your turn and he says load and make ready. So at no point in time, it's called a cold range basically, will you ever have your mag inserted into your rifle and ready to go before you are actually called upon and then brought up to the line and say, go ahead and load and make ready. So that should help you out. There's the 180-degree rule. So basically, if you guys are watching this right now and you are downrange, more than likely the RO's behind you with the timer, and then all the other shooters that are getting ready to shoot or have already shot are behind you, along with, alongside of you, there may be another stage just, 15, 20 yards to the right and left of you. So we want to make sure that we're never bringing the rifle this way or pointing it backwards. So we want to be very cognizant of where that muzzle is. When we're going from transitioning from, say, one barricade style to another barricade style, we want to make sure that as we're moving to the next one, we're not really pointing that rifle, where we're breaking the 180-degree rule. So again, ask questions. If you ever have questions, ask them. Don't do something and go, oh, I didn't know. Try to ask a question prior to, if you do have a question. The people are more than likely would love to help you in any way they can. Like I said before, the people in the shooting community are great people. And one of the most important things is to have fun. If it's your first match, don't be in a hurry. Just go slow. Maybe there's 8 targets, 10 targets, 12 targets, whatever the case is. Shoot as fast as you feel comfortable. Don't try to rush through it. Maybe you just saw someone shoot and they did like a really good time and they just smoked right through that stage. Don't worry about that. You work on you. You get up there, engage your first target, and then when, shoot your next one, depending on how the course is, move to the next stage. And something that you guys should know, because this happens a lot of shooters, when they're starting out, they will go up, they'll load, they'll make ready, you'll be standing or whatever the case is, depending on what they have, then they'll say engage. So now, like say, I would have the mag loaded right now, but the bolt's still back. And the lighting's not showing you, but the bolt is still back. So there is a loaded mag in there, but there's nothing in the chamber. I'll sit here and they'll say engage. So I may put this on top of a barricade. Now I slap it down. I'm going to want to find the target inside of the reticle before I close the bolt. Okay, so a lot of times people will, I don't know if it's just from hunting a lot or whatever they're doing, but basically you don't want to do this and then find the target. You want to find the target and then go ahead and close the bolt, engage the target. Now, before you move to the next target, you want to eject that empty shell out of there, but you don't want to put the next round in. So now the bolt's back. I grab my bag again. I put it on the next barricade. I put it in. I find the target. I close it. I engage. I open it up, and I move. So I want to make sure I'm moving to the next target with the bolt open. I said that a few times to iterate how important it is to make sure that your bolt is open. Now, if you're running a semi-auto, say you're running a Ruger 1022, you will first need to engage the safety, and then you will need to tell the RO, it is on safe and moving as you go to the next target. Then take it off safe, engage the next target, put it on safe, move, and then so on and so forth. So you will need to verbally communicate with the RO the whole time with the semi-auto. What else is there to tell you guys? I think it's most important that you go out and have fun. Don't plan on winning right off the get-go because you're there. That's your first time. If you do show up, it's your first time and you win. Congratulations. But most importantly is to be safe. Don't get disqualified. Disqualified is those things I talked about. They will try to warn you, especially being a new shooter, but like flagging somebody, basically pointing a rifle, even though you have your chamber flag in and, it's unloaded, still pointing a safe firearm at somebody is not considered good, and you can definitely get disqualified for that. So Have good muzzle etiquette when it comes to making sure you know where this thing is pointed at all times. Either carry it up or carry it down. Don't carry it like this as you're walking to the next stage. That's just horrible etiquette. So be very cognizant of that. Everybody's there to have fun, but also there to, you know, to go home back to their families again. We don't need any accidental or dumb things happen at the range. Bring water, bring some type of fluids. You will be shooting most of the day. Sometimes you'll need to bring a lunch. Sometimes they actually serve lunch, and you know, some type of snacks during the day. But I know that you will have a great time. You will enjoy the sport of rimfire, basically long-range precision style shooting, depending on what you end up doing. But you will enjoy it, and I will be glad to have helped you on getting to your first match. So you guys take care. See you on the next one. If you have questions, leave them down below, and I will try to get to them all. See you guys.